Broadcasting from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios in the home of the Zach Gelb Show. This is Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. WNJE Trenton, Philadelphia.
Ready?
It's time to talk sports. National, local, professional, completely unprofessional, high school and college.
Let's take it even further off the hook.
It's the Zach Gelb Show.
We are rolling
On Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in, day number 3 on Radio Row, inside the Mall of America. It's the Zach Gelb Show right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, WNJE Trenton, Philadelphia, as we're getting ready for the big game between the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now joining us in the Pro Football Hall of Fame jacket each and every year, also talking about Know Your Stats, it is Mike Haynes who joins us right now, the Pro Football Hall of Famer. Mike, great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zach. Good to see you again. And got your team in. How'd you do it? What's the secret?
Well, I got both my teams in. The team I work for and cover for is the Philadelphia Eagles, doing radio in the Philadelphia market. And as you know, between us and all the listening audience that probably hate me this week,
you better not say it.
I'm a Patriot fan, so go Pats, baby! All right, so you once told me a few years ago, because we've been talking to you ever since I've been 16 years old, and it's been fun to talk to each and every year. With the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it doesn't matter how long you have to wait, just as long as you get in.
As long as you get in.
And with T.O., he's had to wait a few years. We talked to Jerry Kramer, who's had to wait a lot of years. Explain a little bit about that, how you dealt with that after having to wait and then finally getting that call.
Well, you know, you just have to realize that everything happens for a reason, you know, and so for me, everybody was saying I was a shoo-in. Probably the same with those two guys you mentioned, Jerry and T.O. But you don't feel like that. You kind of get anxious, and you really don't want to talk about it anymore. So when I didn't make it my first year, I thought it was an oversight because that's what everybody said. It was an oversight. Then I didn't make it again the second year, so then I said, you know, forget it. One day I'll go in. That's when I'll be ready. And the next year I go in. So maybe the thing is just don't expect it, and maybe it'll happen. But it is the greatest thing to get that announcement that you've been inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And every player that deserves to get in hopefully will eventually get in. And it doesn't really matter if it's 1 year or 10 years. When you get in, it is one of the greatest accomplishments you could have as a player.
When you look back at the careers of a Terrell Owens and a Brian Dawkins, there's no doubt about it in my mind. They're Hall of Famer. Now with T.O., with some of the locker room stuff that went on and some of the difficult situations that happened in his career bouncing from team to team, some writers go, I can't put him in the Hall of Fame for that. And I don't get that argument. I think it's silly.
Well,
I watch his stats. He's unbelievable.
I don't think it's about team to team. I just think about it's like the guy who walks in that locker room to interview him. You know, is he going to give him an interview? You know,
Big part.
Yeah, it's a huge part.
Which is stupid.
And, well, yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of crazy because if he chooses not to interview with that guy, then who gets the last laugh? That guy, you know, that reporter. And so, like Paul Krause, I forget, he has more than 80 interceptions or something like that. He did not get along with the local reporter. And as a result, he has so many interceptions. How did he not get in, right? Well, we find out later that they didn't have a good relationship. That should have nothing to do with it. But it does, because that's the guy that has to stand up and tell the world why Paul deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Your old coach won 2 Super Bowls, right? You win 2 Super Bowls, you should be in the Hall of Fame, right?
You would think so. But I used to say that maybe the voter, the judge that has the choice for the Raiders has so many guys: Cliff Branch, Lester Hayes. You know, you could go on and on, really. You know, on and on with when it comes to the Raiders. And so his job is too tough. Instead of just having one guy, you know, I got Cliff Branch, I got to get him in. He's got all these other guys, and it seems a little strange probably to stand up and talk positively about all of them and why they all deserve to go in. But a lot of times I think they do deserve to go in. There's a lot of guys who played on these great teams like the Steelers and the Cowboys and the Packers who you think are in. Most people think Jerry Kramer's already in.
John Hanna and the commissioner think he's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't get much bigger than that for offensive lineman, the man that runs the National Football League.
Right.
When you look at Brian Dawkins, though, what stood out to you the most about B-Dawk when you watched him play?
Just the way he played. You know, he was
passion, too?
The passion, the fierce tackler. leader. He was definitely a leader in that defense. And at the time, the Eagles' defense was the best, one of the best ever. So he was one of the leaders of that defense and had a great career. So,
talking to the Pro Football Hall of Famer Mike Haynes on Radio Row. We actually had Herm Edwards on a few weeks ago, and then he gets the job at your alma mater.
Yeah.
And I see the press conference, and you're sitting there. So give me a bit of your thoughts on Herm Edwards now getting back into the coaching game.
Well, I'm glad that he's back. When the job came available like 6 years ago before they hired Todd Graham, I actually called Herman because I wanted him to be the head coach and say, hey, Herm, we're looking for a coach. There's this coaching search going on. I'd love to recommend you, but would you take the job? And he said, Mike, I'm really enjoying myself, what I'm doing now and the show that he's working on. And it's, he doesn't have to think football or be around football 24/7. It's a different kind of a lifestyle.
Not as much pressure.
Well, yeah, it's not. And so he elected not to do it. But then this year when they asked him, it was a different guy talking to him. It was now Ray Anderson, who was his agent when he played. They have a great relationship. So he's going to be able to get everything he needs to succeed. Ray's going to want him to succeed. So I think the dynamics changed, and now was the time for him to come back. I don't think his layoff is going to really seem like a layoff because he's still been around football. He's still analyzing plays. He's still been around talent and analyzing talent. And he's gotten a chance to go around to all the NFL teams, meet all the great players, all the great coaches, all the great GMs, find out what makes him so great, and then maybe with that new information, it changes the way he looks at things. He has a new perception. At least that's what I'm hoping. But the one thing we both know with his personality, he'll be a great recruiter. He'll bring in a lot of top talent.
And he'll build that trust with the parents, too, which is so key.
Yeah, exactly.
Transitioning over to the Eagles' defense, we know how talented this defense is. We know how talented the Patriots' offense is. This is going to be a fantastic chess match coming up on Sunday.
I think so, and that's why I think that Brady is the guy that is going to be the difference maker in this game. If the Eagles can run the ball,
which they're capable of, I think it'll be a close game.
And so I don't really know how it's going to go. We're going to have to really wait and see how things start and how they end up. But I think that if they can run the ball, and there's no reason to think they can't, that the game will be closer because they're going to have to find a way to keep Tom off the field, and that's the best way to do it. They got to run the ball.
And they could do that, and they proved they could do that in the postseason. Look what they did to Matt Ryan in that game up against the Falcons. When I look at it, though, covering the Eagles and then being a Patriot fan, I think this is a toss-up. Right now I'm actually thinking the Eagles are going to win the game because if you look at the battle in the trenches, the defensive line for the Eagles is so good. Patriots defensive line, not that good, and the Eagles have a very talented offensive line.
Well, you studied it probably a lot closer than me, and I would not at all second guess that. I would guess that if I did study it, that's probably where I would end up too. But there's one thing that the Patriots have is they've been here before,
and that's big.
That is really big, and so they're not. And Belichick has those guys not looking past this game. It's like, a lot of teams want to be here during the week doing crazy stuff and having a great time. Both teams know the importance of waiting until after this game is over before they start doing that. So it's just going to be interesting. I think it'll be really interesting to see how, what the game is like in that first quarter and that third quarter. I think it's going to be telling.
And the big thing is when you go up against the Patriots, you can't only bring it for 30 minutes. You have to bring it for a full 60.
For 60, exactly.
When you look at the way the Super Bowl has evolved from when you played until now, speak to that a little bit.
Well, the game itself, I think, I'd have to say that part is the same. It's the other stuff like here on, Media Row and all the events that are in the Super Bowl city. That is insane. It's really crazy. But it's good to see. I mean, if you want to have a Super Bowl, if your community wants to have a new stadium, then a part of the deal is you get a Super Bowl. I think that, you want to roll out the red carpet and have the best Super Bowl ever. And so everybody's trying to do what they can to make sure it's a great experience for football fans. And that people will want to come back to Minnesota. It is freezing cold, but it is going to be even colder tomorrow.
Yeah. Is that possible?
Yeah.
I'm from the East Coast. I left, it was 50 degrees.
Yeah.
I get off the plane here, it's 4.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The Eagles, though, it's such a fun story. As we're wrapping up with the Pro Football Hall of Famer Mike Haynes, we'll get to know your stats and the great work that you do in just a second. But the Eagles, coach told he can't do it. Howie Roseman told he can't do it. Players told they can't do it. They have the ultimate chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and that might be the difference maker for them. You know, that might help them start fast and keep it going. I think that everybody knows now that the Patriots do have the ability to come back. So they're not going to be, if they're ahead 14-0, at the end of the first quarter, they're not going to be, celebrating at halftime, They know that the Patriots can come back, even if it's 14-0 at the end of the third quarter. Doesn't matter. So they know they're going to have to go 60 minutes. And last year was probably the best example of that, 28-3. And the Atlanta Falcon fans started leaving the stadium. It's a blowout. It's over. And the Patriots come roaring back and win that game.
Trust me, I was thinking of going out with Lady Gaga at halftime when she jumped out of the building. I was saying, take me with you. I can't watch this. And I was happy you stayed around for the end. So the floor is yours, as much time as you need. We talk about it every year. It's so important. Know your stats and prostate cancer. Go ahead.
Well, I just want fans to know, especially the men, that prostate cancer is a cancer that a lot of men are going to get in their lifetime. And so if you had to choose one, if they said every man's going to get a cancer, you get to pick it. What do you want to pick? That would be the one I'd pick because it's treatable if you catch it early. And there's no reason really for men not to catch it early. If it runs in your family, you're likely to get this disease. There's a 1 in 3 chance you're going to get it if it runs in your family. All right. And so you need to make sure that you are doing the right things so that you catch it early. So if it runs in your family at 40, you should maybe be talking to your doctor about this. If it doesn't, you can wait till your mid-50s. That hasn't changed. The other thing that hasn't changed is that caught early, you're going to be fine. Wait until you have a symptom. That is generally not a good thing, and you may not be fine. So know your family history. That's the most important thing. Don't be like Mike. I took a chance. I had no idea. I didn't know any of this stuff. And then when I found out that I did have it, it came from a conversation with a doctor that led me to call my doctor, which said, because you are African-American, Mike, let's get your biopsy. So I got lucky. So don't be like Mike. Know your family history. Make better decisions with regard to your prostate health. And if you have it, then have it taken care of early in the process when it's treatable.
Well, Mike, once again, it's knowyourstats.org, Twitter @knowyourstats, Mike Haynes NFL. You get him on Facebook, too, facebook.com/knowyourstats. It's great to see you every year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zach. Good seeing you, man.
Great to see you, too. He's Mike Haynes, the Pro Football Hall of Famer. We'll take a quick break. Be back right after this on Radio Row from Super Bowl 52.